How's it going, guys? Kjhovey here, and holy shit, I did not expect to get that many comments in my Q&A video. I posted that with the expectations of getting maybe 50 to 100 comments because I had never done a Q&A, but I ended up getting like 400 within like the first day. So yeah, it took me a while to read all of them, and I wanted to make sure I read all of them because I appreciate the support. However, it took me a while to figure out how to do the video because I wanted to screen grab a lot of people, but that wasn't working out because it just took too long. So my apologies if I don't screen grab your exact comment, but trust me, I do appreciate all the support. And yeah, so with that out of the way, let's get going. Alright guys, so the first question is kind of a loaded question. As you can see on the screen, I had a lot of questions that had to do with how am I good at Destiny, and what are the previous FPS games I played, and stuff like that. So I figured the best way for me to explain that is to go over my history of gaming. This might take a little while, so I'll put a little link in the description to let you skip this if you want, to go to the more quick questions, but I figured I want to explain this because it's kind of an interesting past. So starting off, when I was like 13, 14 area, I guess 14, I had never played an FPS outside of GoldenEye, and I sucked at that. I sucked really bad at that. I got just destroyed by my cousins all the time. And other than that, the only multiplayer game I ever played was Smash, and I was pretty good at that, but anyways, for FPS, I was always a single player guy. I played a lot of Nintendo. I loved their first party games, and one of my favorite series was a game called Metroid. Specifically Metroid Prime on the GameCube. So when I was like 14, I had a DS, and a game called Metroid Prime Hunters was coming out. And this game, as far as Metroid Primes go, is kind of looked down on because it wasn't a good single player game. However, it had online and it had multiplayer, and it was a lot of fun, for me at least. I loved that game. The online was really laggy, and that kind of sucked, but other than that, it was a really fun game with fun mechanics. And I started playing online, and I started doing really well. And I remember going to GameFAQs, which is a board for talking about games, and I started getting a lot of hype. People thought I was really good with sniping, and I ended up becoming like one of the top snipers. I also got into a really big clan, and I ended up making a lot of friends from there, notably a guy named Tocom. So remember that name, Tocom. He was my doubles partner. He comes into the story later. So after Metroid Prime Hunters, I ended up picking up Halo on Xbox because, you know, I was good at shooters, so I thought I was going to be great at that. Well, I sucked at Halo 2. I was terrible. I couldn't do a damn thing. Everybody was so good by that point because it was like 2006, 2007 area. You know, everybody was just so good at it already. I sucked. So it kind of disappointed me. And I didn't get better at Halo until way later. Well, not way later, but not for a while did I get good at Halo. But what I did was I picked up a new game called Gears of War. And I figured new FPS, I should be pretty good with this because everybody's learning it. So I'm at the same, level playing field. So I started playing Gears of War, and I got pretty good at Gears of War. I became a pretty good sniper. I was, once again, starting to get a little popularity on boards. And I also had a doubles partner, which this is kind of a little side bit of information, but I think some people will find this interesting. I had a doubles partner named C4 Under My Turban, and later on he changed his name to Crim6. And if any of you know who that is, he's a massive Call of Duty player now. But yeah, that's kind of like a little trivia. That's pretty interesting to me. But anyways, Gears of War kind of got me into sniping, again, on consoles. On Metroid Prime, I was pretty big at sniping, but it used the stylus and it didn't use a controller, so it was way different. So I got into sniping Gears of War with a controller. That's the first game I learned how to drag snipe in. And yeah, that's kind of what got me into sniping, I would say, for consoles. I just repeated myself like 10 times. Anyways, so going into that, I ended up picking up two more games, Shadowrun and Halo 3. Now Halo 3 is the first game where I got really competitive. I played the MLG playlist a shitload. I got to a 50 in it. Played against pros pretty often in the matchmaking, but I never got a team together that was dedicated, and I never went to events to play. I did go to events to watch, but that's a whole nother story. But anyways, that's the first game where I really felt a competitive scene. And then in Halo Reach, once again, I was pretty competitive. I didn't really like Halo Reach though. I didn't like the bloom. And then Halo 4 completely killed Halo for me. I'm gonna get Halo 5, I'm looking forward to it. But anyways, so that's kind of my past coming up to Destiny. So Destiny was coming around the corner, And remember that Tocom guy I was talking about from Metroid Prime? Well, that guy ended up becoming a PvP developer for Destiny. And I was pretty hyped for him. We were still pretty good friends. We still talked a lot, Facebook, yada yada yada. Still played games like Halo together. And he talked to me about Destiny. I was like, dude, this is gonna be amazing. And I was like, yeah, it is. It's Bungie. And he was like, yeah, so I can help you get into like the beta and alpha early. And I was like, awesome. So he got me into the alpha early. I was in the pre-alpha. And back then there was only like a few hundred players maybe playing PvP at the same time. And people like Ninja from Halo, I ran into him like non-stop. It was pretty awesome getting to play people like that were really highly skilled. And it was awesome. So going into the beta, I had a lot of experience, and I ended up doing really well in the beta. And then Destiny came out, and I just kept going with it. So yeah, that's kind of my past. I know that was kind of shittily explained, but I thought it was pretty interesting that a game that was kind of bad, called Metroid Prime Hunters, is what started me with gaming in the FPS realm. And yeah, so that about answers that question. That took 5 minutes. Holy shit, sorry guys. Alright, so after I got done making that, I thought to myself, you guys still might be confused as to why that made me good at Destiny. My point was if you have played a lot of games in the past that are similar, FPS games in general, you're going to get the awareness, for example, the radar awareness, the hearing, sound whoring, all that stuff, and it's going to transfer over to all the games you play in the future. So that's why I'm good at Destiny, or I think I'm good at least. You guys probably think I'm pretty good, is because of all the old games I've played. I've played a lot of FPS. That stuff transfers, and yeah, it's kind of natural at that point. If you're looking for advice on how to get better nowadays, all I can really say is to keep playing and watch good players. If you watch good players, you'll start to notice their behavior, their habits, and that will make you better as well. Alright, so next question. How did you meet Mana? How did you meet Mtashed? And how did you get into Resolute? Good questions. Mtashed is the first one that we're going to go off with. I met him back in the beta. I used to post videos all the time on Reddit when the beta came out. And Mtashed saw one and he was like, hey, you're good, I'm good, let's play together. And I'll be honest, at first I thought he might be a douchebag, because anytime someone wants to play with you for no other fact than the fact that you're pretty good at the game, that's kind of a red flag for me. I like to play with people because they're cool and I get along with them. And, he didn't seem like that type of person at first, but he ended up being a really cool guy. He ended up being a good player, and we got along really well. So, really glad I didn't ignore that message. And yeah, he became one of my best friends in the Destiny community. Mana, another guy I met through the beta. We had a mutual friend. This guy tried to get together an elite group, and it kind of fell through. I didn't really like the thought of having an elite group like that. But Manigator ended up becoming a good friend. Another one of my best friends in the Destiny community. And we played a lot. He was a really cool guy. And yeah, that's pretty much the history of that. As far as Resolute goes, I had two really good friends back in January. They still are really good friends. But this happened back in January. Tinks and Mesashon. They were in a group called Resolute, and it looked like a lot of fun. There's a lot of great people in it, a lot of chill people. I was like, hey, I want to be a part of this. I'd like to play with people that are fun to play with. Like I said, that's the most important thing to me. And they were like, yeah, we'll get you in. And I got in. Now, nowadays, you can't do that because Resolute's a lot more strict. We like to be a little exclusive just because we like the thought of us being kind of a little tight-knit family. But yeah, I got in through mutual friends pretty much. Have you played any sports? If so, what positions? And what are your favorite teams? Alright, so I grew up in Louisville. That's a city in Kentucky, if you didn't know. And we're all about college sports. We have no pro teams. So growing up, I watched the Louisville Cardinals. That's my team. I don't really have any pro teams I look at that often. Usually I watch just for the players themselves. Like, I love watching Golden State because I like their play style. I used to love watching Phoenix Suns because I love Steve Nash. It's probably my favorite player of all time. But as far as playing, I used to play like everything. The only sport I didn't really play or give a chance was football. That's because football never really appealed to me. I didn't really like the super physical aspect of it. Growing up, I don't know, I just didn't like it that much. I was always more into soccer, tennis, volleyball, and basketball. As far as the sports I was best at, I would say it was basketball and volleyball. Basketball, I was always a shooting guard. I've always had pretty good aim with like most of the stuff I do, so I was always a pretty good three-point shooter. As far as volleyball goes, I was always a pretty good setter. Like I said, I've always been good at timing and aim, so setting kind of was perfect for me. I could hit too, just didn't really do it that often. Just to add on to that, guys, I do think a big reason I got into FPS at a competitive level is because of sports. I've always been really competitive by nature. Everything I've done, I don't know, I like to give it my best and I like to win. It doesn't matter if it's a card game or ping pong, I want to give it my best. So I think that transferred from sports to competitive FPS. Alright, so I'm going to end the video here. I'm going to make a part 2 with questions that are quicker. I know at the beginning of this video I said I'm going to put a link in the description to skip forward, but it ended up being too long. This video is already like 11 plus minutes. So I'm just going to make a part 2, and that video will be quicker with questions. It won't be as drawn out as these were. So hopefully this didn't bore you too much and you watch the second part, because I think that'll be a little more entertaining for most of you.